two last topics here. We got Florida Gators must-win game. Just one game. What's the game that we feel that, hey, is on the schedule? You got to get it done. This has got to be a big win for you guys. What is it? I think it's been great to get Steve's perspective. All three of us are going to have our own different perspective. We all feel much differently about how the season's gonna go along. So I'm gonna go to you first, Steve. I think, where are you gonna come from on this? And obviously, I'm gonna do FSU too.
He's gonna say Florida State.
No, actually, the way I'm after looking at Florida's schedule for a little bit, I honestly think your must-win game is going to be Kentucky. And I'll put into perspective really fast as to why. Because at that point, you guys have already played Utah and Tennessee by the time you get around to Kentucky. You have two scenarios that you're either potentially 2-2 or you're 3-1, 4-0, right? You either feel really good about where you're at or you feel really bad about where you're at, okay? So if you come into the Kentucky game, right? It's at Kentucky. Kentucky won last year. I know they lost a lot of talent. And you win that game, you are now likely, you're over 500. You're in a winning category for the year after the Kentucky game if you can put a W on the schedule there. Now, if you come into that game and you lose it, based on what you've already played, you could be walking out of that game with 3 losses already. And that puts a big damper on the remainder of your season when you have South Carolina, Georgia, Arkansas, LSU, and Florida State still to go. So if you come out of the Kentucky game with a loss, it just hurts what your outlook is for the rest of the year. If you can come into the Kentucky game confident and have a good, a solid top 4 record out of those first 4 games, then you win that Kentucky game. Well, now you're confident moving into the second half of your schedule, and it can propel you into potentially upsetting an LSU or an Arkansas or Georgia game where you stay close because you feel good about what you've done prior. The Kentucky game for me, I think, based on where you're at after those first 4 games, could make or break the psyche of what that team looks like.
Okay, I'll go next. So
you're going next.
I don't like the Kentucky one. That's the one game that's like the one game I didn't have in my mind. I see you guys in the comments. Some are saying
he's got a good point though.
He's got some points. I think there's more important games. I see you guys saying Vandy, which is a joke. Stop it. Like, I get where you're coming from, but that's not a must-win game. I see you guys say there's a couple. Look, it's tough because there's a couple games that you could really peg as a must-win game. Honestly,
McNeese State.
That's definitely a must-win. Look, I'm battling between Utah and Tennessee, and I was gonna say Utah, and I realized we won Utah last year, and it didn't do what I thought it would do for us. I think the turning point game for us that would have also been a turning point game for us last year, and it was our turning point game the wrong way this year, was Tennessee. Tennessee's going to be at home. It's the fourth game of the season, I believe, right? After 2 cupcakes. So, look, you lose to Utah. You lose 2 cupcake games. Or, excuse me, you lose to Utah. No, it is a third game. It's right before Charlotte. So, you lose. Let's say Utah's a scratch. Utah, I mean, that's a good game, but, like, it's just like FSU and LSU. It doesn't matter if you lose or win because if you win the conference, right? Going to McNeese State, great. You win Tennessee, you roll into Charlotte and roll into Kentucky, you can get burning. And that's why I think you do make a good point with Kentucky, but Tennessee starts that train. So Tennessee is really important to me. They're obviously going to be down to Joe Milton. They're losing, what's his name, Hendon Hooker. You almost beat him last year at home. You had a last possession. You were down by 4. There was an opportunity there at their house. We're going to be at home. I know we're down some guys too, but that's a must-win for me, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, those are some good points. What I like about both of the teams that y'all picked is it's not the team that I picked, so that's even better.
Yeah.
As much as me living in Georgia, I always want to beat Georgia. I mean, obviously, if you're looking at this year, I'm kind of my team is LSU. I mean, How many times have you had a good year going for you, or you're maybe looking great, and then that dreaded LSU game comes up, and you always find a way to lose it, whether it's close, whether it's a blowout. It's usually close. It's never really a blowout, but you always find a way to lose to LSU. I'm sick and tired of losing to LSU. The last time we beat them was Dan Mullen's first year as a head coach. Think about that. So now, obviously, the LSU fans, that's all they talk about is, we always beat Florida. We're their Tennessee. I'm tired of being LSU's Tennessee. And especially if we're going to go to this all SEC conference or all SEC schedule, probably not even play LSU, may play LSU permanently. I don't know. But like, you need to beat LSU. I'm sick and tired of losing to LSU, especially, I mean, you go back to 2020. Everybody thought that was just okay, cool. We're going to go in there. LSU sucks. We're going to beat them. Shoe throw happens. We lose. Find a way to lose that game. 2019, obviously Joe Burrow and that whole team was lighting everybody up. Still kept it close there for a little bit. I think it was 28-42 was the final score. Lose that game. 2021, 20. I mean, I can go through all the years.
We got it, Dave.
It's just we always find a way to lose to LSU, and it's always a close game, and we always shoot ourselves in the foot. Tired of losing to LSU. It's got to be LSU.
I like that pick. And something.
Is it LSU? Is it LSU? Okay.
Gator versus anybody says statement win is different than a must win. And I think the Utah game is a statement game, right? That's where I kind of went away from it. But to your LSU point, I know our feelings want to be LSU. I want to be LSU too. The issue I have in it not being a must win is how late it is in the season. Now you could still argue like, hey, that could be a big win because if you beat, like, let's say you're
pick.
Yeah, but let's say you're struggling, right? Let's say you get Kentucky, you got Vandy, South Carolina, but let's say you lose to Georgia and Arkansas. That LSU could be, a big must-win because you beat LSU, you get confidence going to Missouri, and then it flows into Florida State. So it could be a last quarter pickup game. I think all of our picks were really good picks. I think everyone's going to be kind of back and forth. I think everyone wants to win every game, and that's where we're at. But